Welcome to the Restaurant Help Podcast, a new resource for strategy and insights from some of the top minds in the restaurant business, all designed to help your business prepare for the future. This episode is brought to you by Custom Culinary.
Welcome to the Restaurant Help Podcast. If you're a first-time listener, make sure to subscribe for more great episodes wherever you listen to your podcast. I'm your host, Lauren Wyan, and today's discussion is all about jumpstarting your social media. Our special guests joining us today are Murray Kastner, Social Media Manager for Marlin Network, and Kyle Noonan, founder and owner of Free Range Concepts. Kyle, Murray, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you so much. Excited to be here.
Absolutely. Murray, can you give our audience a brief overview of your background in social media?
Yeah, thanks for having me on the show. Very excited. So I've been working in social media for about the past 10 years, working with a various, number of businesses, and recently have joined the Marlin Network and running all of our social media strategy from a paid and organic standpoint for our food service brands. So really looking at, different tactics and strategies that we're able to leverage across all the social platforms so that our clients are able to generate leads or build more awareness for their brands.
Awesome. You'll definitely be able to add some great insights to today's conversation. Kyle, can you give us some background within the food service industry and sort of touch on any sort of social media background that you have with Free Range Concepts?
Sure thing. So first of all, thanks for having me on. Free Range Concepts is a company I founded in Dallas, Texas in 2012. It's a restaurant company, and we own 4 different brands. We have a total of 11 restaurants. We just opened our 11th actually last week in the middle of all this pandemic, which I think is just bananas, but we did it because that's what we do. So we have 4 different brands, 11 different restaurants throughout the state of Texas, Dallas, San Antonio, Fort Worth, and Houston. And we've been a growing company. It's done well. And a lot of what we do, not only are we communicating with our guests inside our 4 walls, but we use social media as a tool to engage with our audience, connect with the community, and build business. And it's been a tremendously useful tool for us.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations on opening your 11th restaurant amid a worldwide pandemic. So kudos to you. That's very exciting, and definitely wish you all the success. It's a very interesting time right now. So social media will definitely be on your side. So as I mentioned, we're going to be talking about how to jumpstart your social media within your restaurant business. So let's just get right into it. How important do you feel social media is to a restaurant's marketing mix? And I'll let Murray start off with the conversation today.
Yeah, so social media is really becoming essential for businesses these days. It's where people are spending the most of their attention. It's important for people to stay active. And really, social provides the ability for businesses to connect with their consumers and allows for somewhat a word of mouth at scale, really. So when you have people sharing content across these social platforms, you're really able to build an awareness within your local community for your brand, while also being able to connect with potential and also current customers.
Absolutely. And Kyle, for you, kind of talk about how social media is important for Free Range Concepts.
Well, I would say social media has gone from being a way to communicate and build business and build a brand to the way to do it. We have shifted all of our marketing dollars, all of our attention, everything to social media because it's the way to quickly engage with our audience, quickly connect with our community, be real, be live, be up to date, be up to the minute, really, of everything that's going on. So it's a way to really not only talk to our audience, but engage our audience. And I would say any restaurant operator, or really just any business operator, if you're not putting all of your attention in social media, you're really missing the mark.
Absolutely. I definitely agree with you there. And you brought up a great point that you're keeping up with, real-time events and what's happening. And as we're going through COVID-19, there's a lot of changes. There's a lot of information coming out. The state of the restaurant industry has continuously changed. You know, one minute we're open, now we're shutting restaurants back down. Some off-premise is available, some areas you can do dine-in. So it's really important to utilize social media channels to really convey all of those important messages. So Kyle, how do you do this with Free Range Concepts? What are some of the things you've been doing with your social media during COVID?
Yeah, and to add on to what you just said and really broaden the conversation about being quick in real time, way back in the day when I started in this business, I remember trying to figure out ways to advertise promotions and, maybe you would say get a billboard, which I've done. And you're talking months of planning to get a billboard up and thousands of dollars to get a billboard up. With social media, I can do it in 10 minutes and have it communicating directly to my audience. So we really look at not only how do we communicate with what we're doing, what's going on inside our four walls, what promotions we might have or what daily features we might have, but also a way to get feedback from the audience and communicate so that you're not just selling. That was one of our biggest core tenets when we started out with social media. I didn't want it to be just a continuous feed of we're selling you this, we're selling you this. We wanted to be engaging. We wanted to provide value to the audience. So there might be learning involved. There might be humor. There might be a human connection or human element, human story that we might promote so that the audience isn't just sitting there watching a commercial the whole time. We hate commercials. Right. Netflix is huge partly because we don't like having commercials. And so, I see, like, say, Instagram, for example, when I'm scrolling through Instagram, we all see the quote unquote commercials, the things that are selling to us. And a lot of times we just skip right by them, just like we would on a commercial on TV. So we didn't want to be a continuous commercial. We wanted to provide value. And that's been one of our keys to success.
Yeah, that's absolutely great, especially now. You have to find a way to stand out, be a little bit more creative, and like you said, not just seem like an advertisement. So, like I mentioned before, there's a lot of misinformation going around. Murray, do you have any tips or strategies on how a restaurant can really harness the power to sort of combat some of that misinformation going around?
Yeah, so I think that when we look at social media as a whole, to Kyle's point, really providing value to the end consumer and not broadcasting, what you are trying to promote all the time. And we're really seeing that, through COVID, that consumers are really looking to help and support their local restaurants. They're wanting to make sure that they stay in business. And so being able to use social media to communicate to them about updates to your business, showing behind the scenes content of what's going on in a day-to-day within your business really helps build a connection with your audience and really ensures that, they're there to help and support you. But that all ties back to providing value to them and making sure that your content is engaging and entertaining.
Absolutely, because the goal is to have it be interactive. You want to get some of those comments, you want to start conversation, and really just provide relevance to your customer base. So those are some really great strategies. Kyle, if you could sort of prioritize social media platforms for restaurants, which ones do you think are the best channels, and maybe which ones should restaurants consider not using?
Well, I don't know that I would stay away from any platform. I think that the key is tailor making your content for that platform. So what I mean by that is Instagram, for example, is a great tool for people in the restaurant industry because the restaurant world is a food-driven world, which is very visual. And, I'm just, there's so many times I'm grateful that I'm not an accountant and trying to build a business on Instagram that way, because that's pretty hard. But in the food business, it's really easy because it's such a visual thing. So lots of beautiful pictures, great short form video, things like that. Now, Facebook, on the other hand, is really community driven. So we want to do things that create groups and get the community kind of connected together. But even stuff like LinkedIn, anytime I go on, say, a business talk show, or we have an article coming out, a business article written about one of my restaurants, that's a great way to kind of uniquely advertise through LinkedIn and post that business related article about your business. So tailor making content for each platform is really crucial. You can't just make a generic post and send it across all platforms and hope that it performs well, because it really won't.
And I'll add on to that. Facebook and Instagram definitely are the biggest players when it comes to kind of marketing your restaurant. So those are going to be the biggest platforms that have the biggest audience scale, the most users. And so they have a ton of scale across the US, but you're also able to communicate directly with people in your community, whether that's through specific hashtags that are local to your community or tagging your post with a certain geolocation. And you're also able to leverage paid advertising so that you're talking to people specifically within your radius. And Kyle mentioned a great point of crafting your content to be very native to each of those platforms. So simply posting the same content across all your social channels isn't necessarily the best strategy. Being able to post contextual relevant content is really what wins on social, and really coming off as authentic to your business. So Kyle mentioned, community driven within Facebook is going to be fun. So posting content about your staff and customers and really kind of being a voice for not only your restaurant, but your whole local community can help bring a lot of awareness to your business. And then we talked about how Instagram is very visual. And so you can take a lot of wonderful photos, simply on your iPhone nowadays. And so it's not hard to put out a lot of great content at scale.
Absolutely. I definitely agree with you there. Facebook can really target a wide audience. So you've got, millennials, you've got Gen Xers, you've got baby boomers, kind of have everybody on Facebook. And Instagram's a little bit more, Gen Z, millennial, Gen Xers. But a new platform that's gaining popularity is TikTok. And when you think of TikTok, you think, okay, just a bunch of silly videos, it's just a fun platform. But what I just started seeing a lot of is brands are really starting to take to TikTok and show some instructional videos. I saw like a cooking demonstration, kind of like what Vine maybe was set out to do originally, and it kind of got taken over by Instagram. What are your thoughts on kind of keeping up with some of these newer platforms that we think are just for the younger generations, but being able to market to them? How can brands really, look at some of those newer platforms like TikTok?
Yeah, so from a social standpoint, these platforms tend to start out younger. So Facebook started out as just for college students. And then, once their parents and their grandparents start joining, then you start having, everyone across the platform that you're able to target. And then they move to Instagram. And then so that's starting to get an older demographic there. And then now the younger demographic is moving to TikTok. So you kind of see these ongoing patterns where the platforms start out as a younger audience, but then eventually the older audience will join in. And I think TikTok's actually seeing kind of that increase a little bit more and quicker than a Facebook and an Instagram. So it's important to stay active, at least be familiar with these platforms, because on social things change so quickly. So, recently there was a Facebook boycott for the month of July. And so people are now needing to shift some of their attention to TikTok. And so being able to be familiar with how to craft content on TikTok is going to give you that advantage to be able to shift quickly and seamlessly. And so you can take some of those tactics that you were using on Instagram and apply those, but there's going to be some individual content pieces that work specifically on TikTok. So being able to, stay relevant and stay up to date with those platforms as they move is very important.
Definitely. I think it's just really crucial to, like you said, stay up to date with the newer platforms, because it's just as important to tailor some of your content towards the younger generations, especially Gen Z, because a lot of them are, they're going to be graduating college soon, and they're going to be the next big generation that's going to have a lot of the buying power, like millennials. So those are some really great strategies, great tactics. When we think about scheduling social media and taking the time to do it, restaurateurs don't typically have a lot of time. So how do you combat this? What are some of your strategies for dedicating time to your social media?
Well, I would say, outside of operations, let's just assume that your operations are intact and that you're executing well. That's the number one thing in any business, especially in the restaurant industry. Beyond that, if you're trying to grow a business, grow sales, grow a brand, your attention needs to be on social media. That's the way you're going to do it. And this isn't, oh, my 19-year-old niece is young, so she probably can figure it out. I'm going to give it to her. This is serious business. And if you treat it with the respect it deserves, I guess, or the attention it deserves, and act like the grown-up in the room and actually run it like you would the rest of your business, you'll be successful. But if you pawn it off on some, I'm just going to give it to my host because, she's young and she can figure it out. I think you're missing the mark. I think you need to take it as a business operator. I know we do, very seriously, because it is the number one way to grow our sales and build a brand.
Yeah, and I think being strategic with being able to plan out the content that you put out on a weekly basis, setting some time to really think about it and make sure that, your content is providing value is a great way to just make sure that you have consistent content going out throughout the week. That's going to be the key to growing any social media audience, is consistency and posting on a regular basis. So there's a ton of tools like Hootsuite and Sprout Social that allow you to schedule the content throughout the week. So taking a couple hours a week to be able to develop and then schedule that out can really ensure that you're staying consistent, but then also kind of keeping an eye out for content in real time. So having someone that's, taking photos or videos of things that are happening on your restaurant or within your local community is a great way to increase engagement. And those are going to be some of the more fun posts that I think you're going to be able to get more engagement on because they're just more in real time and more spontaneous.
Yeah, piggybacking off of what Murray just said, I think that spontaneity, I think consistency is important, but I don't think that means monotony. Consistency and being reliable in posting is what you're saying, but you don't want to keep seeing the same post. I think the spontaneity is really critical. And what I see, that usually drives the most engagement. Now, we do plan out posts. We have National Tequila Day coming up. I think it's next week. Of course, we have posts that we have scheduled and we know what we're going to post that day. But when I just do a quick little spur of the moment cooking video, that engagement is usually through the roof because it's real, it's authentic. And I think that the consumer really responds to that.
Absolutely.
We have a ton of great tips that are going to provide operators with tips and tricks on how to create engaging content for each platform within the downloadable toolkits for this episode on myrestauranthelp.com. So I highly recommend checking that out so that you're able to really craft, some authentic and great engaging content for each of the platforms.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great, Murray. Thank you for that. And Kyle, I think you got the point there that people need to take this very seriously. Like you said, it has to be part of your actual business plan and strategy, because how are you going to be able to really schedule and craft this and create engaging content? So when you're going through scheduling and you're going through coming up with some of this content, what are some key things that operators can really do to grow their social audiences?
I think from our end, again, the value-driven content. And what I mean by that is when we're producing content that provides value to the audience, whether it's educational, i.e. cooking video, or entertaining, maybe we do a little music clip from one of our artists that's performing, or just human interest stories highlighting our staff members and telling a little story of our staff members, kind of a get to know you. That type of stuff does really well. The sales pitch, I think it's important. Hey, I'm running a special on draft beer this week. That's important. The audience likes that. But if you're only doing that, you're probably not going to grow the way you want. If you're providing value, you're going to start seeing engagement, which then leads to growth.
Yeah, and I think from a tactical standpoint, once you have that valuable content out, you want to make sure that the most people as possible see that content. So tactically, you can use hashtags within your post copy. So within the text, you're able to use hashtags that are local to your community. And that's really going to help, increase the searchability of your searchability and discoverability of your content on the platform. So people that are searching for those hashtags that may be within your, Dallas, Texas, people are going to be able to find that content, look at it, and that's going to help bring some visibility to your business. And also being, social media is all about being engaging and social. So going in and commenting on other people's pages, that could be other business pages or other just personal pages, really going in and starting a conversation with people that's authentic and, once again, is fun and engaging is really going to be a way to help grow your business in the most authentic way.
Yeah, and I see it all the time. And Murray, I know you do too, where brands don't even take the time to comment back to comments on their own posts.
Yeah.
It's crazy that I don't know if it's arrogance or if it's sloppiness or what it is, but the whole idea is connecting with people. And the way I look at it from an operator, if I walk through my dining room and a guest stops to talk to me, if I just walked away and didn't say anything, that would be just lunacy, right? But for some reason on social media, we don't think about it as another person behind that keyboard typing, and we just let comments go unresponded to or unliked or whatever the case may be. Engage with your audience, build that communication. That's really how you're going to grow not only your social media presence, but also your brand and your business.
And very tactically, the more that you engage and the more comments that happen within your posts actually helps increase the visibility of your content. So the kind of algorithms of Facebook and Instagram see that if this is an engaging post with a lot of comments, we need to share this with more people. So actually going in and commenting and responding to people actually helps increase that visibility.
Yeah, those are some great tips because, if you want people to comment and you want to engage new customers and, bring about awareness to your own brand, you kind of have to pay it forward a little bit. So it's a really great analogy and great tips there. Another way that I think brands can really sort of broaden their reach or kind of increase their brand awareness is utilizing influencers. So these could be like micro influencers for local communities or, large influencers that have a huge following base, a lot of engagement, that could identify with your restaurant brand. How do you feel about influencers positively affecting your restaurant business? So Kyle, I'll let you start off with this one.
Yeah, I mean, influencers are a great tool, and I personally like micro influencers usually more, not for any other reason than a micro influencer is usually their audience, and I don't know where the cutoff is, just for the audience, for those listening. I don't know where the cutoff is from micro influencer to macro influencer, but say somebody with 10,000 followers, that person is probably going to have the vast majority of their followers hyper local in the market that you're in. And so those 10,000 followers are usually going to all live within a few miles of your business. And that's going to be a lot more effective than the person with 1 million followers who have followers in China and France and Germany and all over the world. It's probably not going to benefit you as much. So from a restaurant standpoint, micro influencers are massively important to communicate, grow a business. And they'll usually just do it for a free meal. You don't even have to pay them 9 times out of 10. So it's just a great free way to get your business exposure.
Yeah, I was going to ask, how do you go about reaching out to these possible influencers to sort of make that collaboration possible?
Yeah, so this is a great tactical tool that we use all the time, and it is tedious, but we do a little stalking on Instagram or Facebook, or we do some internet stalking. And what we'll do is we'll find people that have been to our businesses just because they've tagged us, and you can search, like say Instagram, for example, based on location. So you find out who's already been to your business, and you look at their profile, and you kind of just start seeing, is that somebody that maybe you can invite back and help grow your business? And there's a little button up at the top called DM, and you slide right in there and invite them back for happy hour and say thanks for coming in. And it's a great tool.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, food, you can probably get anyone for a free meal and some drinks, or even, continue a collaboration with, a free meal every time they do a post or something for you. So
absolutely.
That's a great way. So Murray, how do operators go about just starting to develop their social media plan? Like, where should they start?
Yeah, so I think, we keep saying providing value. So I think really being able to craft content that people want to engage with and deciding what platforms you want to engage on. So that's where I would say would be the starting point. And then being able to see, what type of content do I already have existing that I'm able to leverage, and then kind of outline how much content do I want to be posting? Do I have time to be posting on a regular basis? And then also looking at the type of content that I want to develop or plan for. And so, setting out a content calendar is a great way of just starting and kind of visualizing the amount of content that would be going out. But then also, thinking about the content that people want to consume. And so that's where I would start. And then also looking at different influencers within my local community that I potentially could reach out for. And so starting a list of people that, may have only 2,000 followers up to 10,000 followers that are local within my community. Start building out that list and then start reaching out to as many of them as possible and start building those connections. So we touched on, the power of influencers a little bit, but really getting the right shout out from the right influencer can be huge for your business and can really be the starting point of growing your follower base and bringing in sales for your restaurant.
And Kyle, I want to, pick your brain about this as well. You have multiple brands, so that can be a little intimidating for an operator like yourself that has multiple brands. So what are some tips that you have for going about starting a social media strategy plan?
I think the first thing is staying true to the brand and understanding what your specific brand is about. You can't have the same message going across all brands. It has to be authentic to that brand and be really true to what its purpose is. And then the second thing is just, you've got to be thoughtful. You've got to treat this, again, I said it before, you have to be a grown up about it. You can't just pawn it off on your, nephew because he's young. Now, I will say this, millennials, this isn't a knock on a millennial, because a lot of times it's a job and they know what they're doing and they have done this for years and they went to school and they have background in it. So it's not a knock on young people. It's just, you can't just say, oh, this person's young, they must know how to do it.
Right. I definitely agree with you there. As a young person myself, sometimes social media can always just be looped in as an extra part of someone's position, and it should really be, a huge part of the whole marketing plan. So I appreciate both of you for being on the show. So thank you so much for sharing all your expertise around social media.
Yeah.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. And next, I want to thank each of our listeners. Without you, this podcast would not be possible. So when you're out there in the trenches listening in, make sure to drop us a rating or review. That's how we get feedback from you. For more information, make sure you download the episode toolkit at myrestauranthelp.com. Also, please subscribe for more great content on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and of course, spread the word. That's it for today. We'll catch you next time right here on the Restaurant Help Podcast.